Shoots them, my friend. Good evening. How you doing? How is life, my friend? Let me just kind of get started here. Can you share more musicians like him? Absolutely, man. Let me make a playlist for you. Let me make a playlist for you. Of course I can. All right, let's do Joe Satriani, of course. So let's do some of the Satriani songs. So let's do. How can I do this quickly though? So save to playlist, instrumental guitar. Okay. I mean, there's so many songs, it's crazy. Save to playlist. Okay, good. So Saj Boogie. Ah, man, it's so many. Shit, it's hard to. Okay, we'll need to. I'll make a playlist for you now. So let's go to Crying. This is the Extremist album, I believe. Yeah, exactly. All right, let me try to. Matty, my friend. Good evening. How are you doing? Ah, my first follower ever. Flying in a Blue Dream. So let's. I'm gonna make this playlist for you, so don't worry. One Big Crush, Big Bad Moon. Sure. I mean, okay. Let me be careful with you. Need to introduce you slowly to the instrumental guitar. Shapeshifting is a new album. Is There Love in Space? This is a good album. We can say If I Could Fly. Searching is a good one. Yeah. But let's mix it up. Crystal Planet, there are a few good songs there. Crystal Planet itself, Up in the Sky, is good. Ceremony is kind of Phrygian, I believe, scale. Time is fine. Ceremony, yeah. House of Bullets, depending what you like. Let's keep on going. What Happens Next is one of the recent 2018. My wife likes Cherry Blossoms. This is her favorite song. What Happens Next is a good song as well. But yeah, Cherry Blossoms and What Happens Next here. Let's keep on going and then start coding. Not on This Earth. This is the first Joe Satriani's album, one of the first. Fun fact, he recorded the whole album just on his guitar, so he didn't have the money. Yeah. He has a book, which is called Strange Beautiful Music, and in this book he explains... yeah, here's Surfing with the Alien, but he explains every single album. But anyway, save to playlist. Rubina is Joe Satriani's wife. That's her name. Okay. Let's keep on going. We're gonna have to choose some. Engines of Creation. It's a very good album. There are a few songs that I also performed from here. Until We Say Goodbye is a very nice ballad. Engines of Creation is good. Borg Sex is good. But let's be careful here a bit. All right, so let's go a little bit more. Let's go Yngwie Malmsteen, and from there we're gonna take just maybe one or two songs. Because the Rising Force is one. We can go with Far Beyond the Sun. That's a legendary song. And that's there. Let's now go Steve Vai, right? Another legend, another guitar legend. We can go there. For the Love of God is, of course, Tender Surrender. For the Love of God is something, of course, clearly we have to take. Let's stop there. Then we can go John Petrucci. He's a guitarist of Dream Theater. But he has a solo album, several solo albums. The best one is Suspended Animation. He recorded this in 2005, as you can see. Glasgow Kiss is my favorite song from this album. Damage Control is the second one. So we're going to do that. Thank you very much for the follow. We are about to start coding. I'm just making a playlist for one of the... Then, of course, we can go with... I mean, let's see, what would you like? Andy James, you know. Paul Gilbert, for example, is another legend of guitar. Paul Gilbert is one of the most liked guitar players out there. So we can do Fuzz Universe. Yeah, let's stay there. And then Guthrie Govan. He's a guitar legend, arguably one of the best technically eloquent guitarists. He recorded a few of these albums. So let's go with... yeah, we can go this and... Have you ever used Firebase with... No, I do not use these services like that. No, I did not. No, I did use Firebase before, but it's pointless for me to use it. And if you need more details, of course, I can give it. And then let's lastly, before we start coding, let's say you know, Steve Johnson, for example, he has... Is it Steve Johnson that I want? No. But okay, let's stay here. Let's leave it here, right? Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to share this link with you now. Let's just stay here. Let's play something like this. All right, cool, fellas. Cool. Well, good evening. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Zaire, I'm very good, man. I haven't streamed in like 2 months or something, and then I came back like a day or 2, 3 ago. I don't actually remember. What about yourself, man? How are you? And let me just, I keep forgetting. Let me just pin this thing so people can sign up on Programmer Network. I truly hope. But we're gonna have hopefully many Q&A sessions today. So if you guys have questions, please, I'm here. I mean, I'm streaming pretty much. For that reason, to be very frank with you, because I'll be building. I missed you. I'm very good. Likewise, man. Likewise. I mean, that's why it's so nice to come back, because hearing that type of stuff is quite cool, man. Thank you. But I was not by no means I was not going to disappear anywhere. It was just you know I'm not a classical type of streamer, right? So I stream and then I don't stream when I don't feel like it. So it's just very common for me to, yeah. I guess this thing also kind of doesn't exist here. Why did I? No, actually, this is fine, I guess. Account. Yeah, okay. Never mind. Sorry, I'm just talking a little bit to myself. Do I use server-side rendering? I do not. No. I'm just using plain React. I actually recorded a YouTube video just about that a couple of days ago. Let me show it to you. There's actually, ironically, a lot of views on that video, considering I don't put much. But there's this, you can see here, I recorded this 2 days ago. It has almost it has 800 views. So it's called "Why Are You Not Using Next.js? Why Are You Using Plain React?" It's just a ration. It's just logic, right? So again, resisting an urge to be influenced by, because, so for example, let's just So let's just discuss that. So a couple of days ago, I recorded a video, this one, right? And one of the guys actually, he removed his comment from the video. He said, you know, what you're saying, I mean, he didn't say that what I'm saying is wrong, but he said, do you know, Alex, that even, you know, official React documentation is suggesting, server-side rendering. Let's just discuss that for a second. Let me show you. So he said, and he removed his comment. I don't know why, because I was happy that he left that comment. So he said, you know, did you know even that that React official documentation, yeah, at this one, he said, you know what, how can you, in a way, he said, how can you say things like that when even React documentation is suggesting that you use things like Next.js, right? But in order for you guys to understand that, you need to understand the motives of this documentation, right? I think a lot of developers in this context are very naive to believe that there's no marketing here. So the reason why such thing is suggested under the official React documentation, there's several reasons, but I'm going to list two most common reasons here. Number one, React now is battling with Vue.js and Nuxt.js and Svelte has its own server-side rendering stuff, right? So this is now more of a battle of marketing rather than anything else. And reason two is that Next.js is a very, very, very beginner-friendly tool, right? I mean, this is probably the I don't know how depending how you put it, best and the worst abstraction ever made almost in this industry, because Next.js, a complete beginner can follow some tutorial, build some serverless function, some small microcontroller API, write some component, and have a full stack application working, right? Whereas if you're using React, as we are using it for Programmer Network, you need to know how to do a lot of stuff, you know, how to use cookies properly, how to do security related things, how to do a lot of these concepts you have to do yourself. You want to do dynamic imports, suspense, and a lot of these things, right? So the person who left the comment and for some reason removed it from my YouTube, and I don't know why he did that. So the reason why they're doing this, right, is not because they just want you to. And there's of course Vercel, right? I think that Vercel is heavily probably investing as a sponsor into React. So by suggesting, basically, you can see they're even advertising Vercel here. I mean, that is, if this doesn't kind of tell you some of the motives of React team, right, then nothing will, right? So you can see literally that now they're even advertising it, right? And if we go to React on GitHub, I just want to see if Vercel is sponsoring React now. I mean, Facebook is obviously funding this project. Is there more sponsors here or something? Let me see. No. What is the, is this MIT licensed? Yeah, it is. Is Fastify a Node.js framework? It is, yes. But anyway, as you can see, right, so just because they're saying here that you should be using Next.js or any of these other things, it doesn't mean you should, right? They have other reasons that you think of why they're suggesting that, right? Blazor is the same, yeah. I mean, it's just server-side rendering, right? All over the place. WordPress is server-side rendering. Next.js is server-side rendering. Blazor is as well. So it's just some, let's say, under quotes, JavaScript. You can go and sign up to Programmer Network. Somebody on YouTube's asking. You can just go and sign up yourself. It takes 2 seconds, really. You go to programmer.network, you click sign up, and then you choose if you want to sign up with these 3 things or username and password, pretty much. So Bexy, good evening. Good to see you again. Thank you for encouragement. All right, so well, yeah, we'll see how the stream is gonna go. I am back to streaming now, so I do want to spend time. Blazor is a ASP.NET kind of framework for building applications. It is not open source, no, unfortunately, no. Some things are open source. Like if you go to the GitHub of Programmer Network, there's like core URL library is open source. So if you go here, you're gonna find some open source stuff, but not fully, right? But the core library, the component library, the front-end library, I built the whole thing. This is open source fully. And then, but why would I use SSR? For what for? Why? Why would I do that? Matty, yeah, but I mean, I like this stream to be a point of, you know, as always, Matty, you were my first viewer. You know this stream better than anyone, right? I want to know the reasoning because people have always a reason why they ask something, right? And I think it's my kind of, at least I have the right to ask back, right? The question, right? Well, I mean, you are the so Zaire, you are the one asking the question, right? So you have to. So you are asking why am I not using it, and I'm asking you why would I use it, right? Because you are implying that I should be using it, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think I'm not implying anything. I mean, I'm just saying you're. I mean, not just you. Many people have asked the same question, as the implying basically that, you know, one should use it, right? So the question is why, right? Why would I use it? Right? We are reversing question to each other. Is TypeScript with any better than nodejs? I mean, if you're using any, then of course it's not. TypeScript is just a superset of JavaScript, right? So let's not make TypeScript something more than just types, right? So if you're using any, then no, it's useless, yeah. Well, I mean, look, let's put it this way, right? So let's have a little discussion here, right? Let's just have a little discussion, okay? So, look, and this is really important. So the question again was about why am I not using Next.js? But let's reverse that, right? Let's reverse that. Why are you not using X? Or let's say, why are you not using Y, right? Or should we use Z, right? Z, right? No, I'm not saying you should use SSR, but I'm just asking why you don't use it for Programmer Network. Well, I'm not using it because I don't need it, right? But let's discuss that, right? Let's not even talk about server-side rendering. Let's discuss this, right? You cannot make, as a software engineer, as a tech lead, as a founder, as anything, you cannot make vague technical decisions, right? If you're using something, you have to have factual ground that you stand on, right? You cannot use something because someone is using it or because our documentation is saying it. So for example, going back to 2 minutes ago, what I was talking about, when this guy on my YouTube left a comment, well, do you know that even React documentation is suggesting this? But this is not how serious developers make technical decisions. You're not making decisions based on something vague, like someone is using it, someone I've heard about it, or documentation is saying it. You should be making these decisions based on rational things, right? So the question is, for example, here, why are you not using Next.js or SSR, right? Right? Okay. So what am I doing? I'm building alone. I'm building entire social platform for developers alone, right? So now I have to make compromises, right? So what do I care about, right? What it is that I care about, right? I mean, you need to make compromises, right? When you're making decisions in any domain of life, you're gonna make some So when making decisions, you will make mistakes, obviously. The only people who don't make mistakes are those who don't make decisions, right? Yeah, but these are things. These are very vague things, right? What do you mean it would be a nice addition? You have to be more specific, right? Like if you would be sitting in the office with me, Shiba, and you said, well, it could be a nice, it could be a good addition to programming network. That's not a sufficient serious argument. You cannot sell a technology to me, the whole stack that changes the entire trajectory of the whole infrastructure. No, but that's not sufficient. That's not a sufficient reason that you base your whole infrastructure of entire project on a tool. You understand what I mean? You cannot say, hey guys, do you want to build a social platform? Yes. Okay, let's use this tool because SEO. You don't make decisions like this. Companies would simply go bankrupt if that's a very vague thing to say. Oh, SEO. That's not sufficient technical argument to sell a technology, right? I mean, you get what I mean. So let's forget SEO here or Next.js. This is not about Next.js anymore, right? But why? Why do you say that? Why? You're saying, I think SSR should be a must for apps that provide articles. Why, right? Have you genuinely tested single page applications versus as a service under applications? And have you developed like a general feeling of the difference between the two, right? But it doesn't really matter, right? We don't disagree that server-side rendering is useful in many ways. Of course it is. I never said it's not. It's just I'm not going to make a huge technical decision on something, right, that covers one tiny fragment or segment of something, right? Like if I search for programming network on Google, right? It's there all over the place, right? If I search for programming network Vim, right? Let's see. Or I don't know what programming network. Here I am on the first page, right? So there's a lot of these assumptions in the community. People keep saying SEO. Single page apps are not SEO friendly, but none have actually tested this theory, right? You get what I mean? So there's a lot of these statements which are quite vague and they are not supported by reality, right? But anyway, so this is kind of my take, right? But either way, let's imagine that server-side rendering is 50 times better SEO-wise, right? Let's imagine that this wasn't in fact reality, right? I would still not pick it, right? Because that's one tiny segment. For me, it's way easier to develop plain React apps than Next.js apps. I've never encountered that a library doesn't work with React. I've encountered countless times that it doesn't work with Next.js because you have this mixture of a Node.js, you have a mixture of Windows code, whatever. So I've never encountered countless of the issues that you encounter with Next.js. It's faster to develop with plain React simply because development server is way faster. There's way less hacks, abstractions. I hate file-based routing. I would ban that pattern if I'm asked. So when somebody asks why you're not using it, it's because there's no value in it. So you can say SEO, but other than that, I see no value. Somebody says, oh, code splitting. I'm code splitting my React app already. I mean, every single route that I have is a dynamic route, right? There you have your code splitting in 3 seconds, right? So if I faced a problem and someone wrote a solution about it in the social network, would I find the article by Google? You would find the article almost in the same way, Shiba, with React on the client or not, right? So again, these things are neglectable in many scenarios, right? And if I need it, so for example, let's imagine that this platform now is actually used by people, right? I could server-side render just my articles, right? I would literally do this myself without Next.js. So when you go into an article here, this would just return an HTML payload, right? If I needed that, right? If, again, saying if this optimization was in fact proven to be useful, right? Because we don't know. That is, we keep just parroting these things that were true 30 years ago or 20 years ago, right? I mean, look, let me show you one thing. Just so you don't think that I'm talking out of my butthole, right? So this is the page indexing of Programmer Network, right? You can see that, and Programmer Network barely has any content, right? So, there's 20 articles on it, right? There's literally 20 articles on the whole platform, right? We're in the position 22 right now, overall, right? Because again, there's no content. You can see that every single keyword out there almost has been, in fact, indexed, right? Network, SAS planet, JavaScript, pipe operator, right? So if we go to Programmer Network, right? Explore the pipeline operator in JavaScript. Here it is, right? Here's the keyword, right? So here are all of the links, countries, right? So, I mean, what are we talking about, right? If your primary issue is SEO, and you can prove that, in fact, what you're doing is, in fact, drastically better or sufficiently better enough that you make that radical decision to use a whole full-fledged coupled monolithic framework because, 5% of improvement or 50% is better, it's worth it, absolutely go for it. But you have to make this technical decision, right? You cannot just say, server-side rendering. I mean, that comes with a bunch of other implications in your software, right? You cannot just base your whole trajectory of a company, of a product, on a single variable. Or you can, if that variable has such a significant impact on your platform. Is like, if we server-side render, we're going to become a unicorn. And if we don't, we will not, right? Absolutely, just do whatever you have to get there. But you have to make this decision and make sure, right? But anyway, I'm showing you now, right? I'm showing you now the statistics. This Programmer Network has no content, and it's rated on the Google amazingly well. Imagine if you guys past 1 year have been writing articles and stuff. We would be all over Google. We would be top pages on Google. I mean, 100%. 100 million%. Why? Because look at this, man. This loads in fraction of a second. Anything that I click on is instant. Why is it instant? It's because it takes 2 kilobytes of JSON from the API. That's the only thing that it does, right? Browsers are super fast to render things, right? Look at this. No matter what I click on. Right? Infinite scrolling, easy, right? Whatever it is. Look at that. So this is sufficient, right? So that's what I'm advocating for. I'm just advocating for a little bit of reason and nothing else, right? Some vodka, yeah? Yeah, but yeah, think about it, right? It's not to say, again, please don't misunderstand me. Server-side rendering has its implications and stuff. It's just whenever I ask someone the follow-up question, okay, why would I use it? People have no really a concrete answer, right? Okay, let me see if do they have high education? Yes, they do. Was there any other? If there was any other question that I skipped, please ask it again. No, I mean, the thing is, right, like the biggest problem, right? The biggest problem is that a lot of us are very prone to being influenced, right? And I don't blame us, right? We don't have the time to. An average professional doesn't have the time to prove these claims, right? Of course that I don't expect you to sit and prove every single claim. So of course that we have to trust some general thing on the internet. This applies to politics, programming, anything in life. You just have to, if you would want to question every single thing, you would die every day just for 12 hours questioning things. So I'm not suggesting that. But when you're making important technical decisions, you have to be like mature. You have to be really a senior. You cannot, it's fine that we discuss like sweaty nerds things here on the stream and we talk about performance. It's fine. We escape the everyday reality of life and we come here in the stream and we talk crap. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I can deceive myself for a tiny bit, right? But if you're starting a project, making technical decisions at work, working as a tech lead, as a team lead, as a CTO, you are making serious decisions that impact various levels of business. How your team is going to operate, how your business is going to operate, how you're going to hire people, and so many other things, right? And that's basically the difference, and that's what I'm talking about here. So we can, if you're building a Hello World app, who gives a crap what you're using? Use whatever you want. Write it in assembly, right? Or, you know, on a 8-bit CPU. But if you're talking mature language, serious language in the business world, then we're making decisions which have the best general implication on business, right? All right, let's switch to that. Give me a second. So what is the question? The question is, I have a question. What does it look like in your company or in previous companies onboarding someone for a mid position? I'm talking about some larger project here. Of course, it depends on the company, but personally, how long do you think it takes for a new person to find if someone is suitable? Good evening, Mastorm. So I think, and I'm sorry, Smart Fusion, I'm going to get back to your question in a second. In my career, Masa, I think maybe for all of these years, maybe once or twice a person hasn't been suitable for a position. Out of these 2 times, 1 time we fired the person, right? And this was a very radical example. So in the first month, this person was falling asleep during the meeting, watching a football game in the middle of, like, he would sit on a chair like this, his first 2 weeks, and he would be watching a football on his phone. So it was very shocking. I've never seen anything like that. So that was really. But in most times, actually, let's say all times, I mean, people are generally suitable, right? You just have to. It depends, you know. No, he wasn't that much of a youngster. He was apparently a senior, right? He was not a bad developer by no means. He was not a bad person. I'm not going to dare to say any bad things about that person, but that person was just behaving very strangely. I've never seen that in my entire life. But Masa, what do you mean the project is huge, right? I mean, why does the size of the project matter, right? You're gonna, no matter what project you to join, smaller in code base or larger, you will always be working on a small fraction of it, right? So I don't think it matters the size of the project. I hope that you can get inspired by the problem, right? If a junior doesn't have all the qualifications but is eager to learn, would you consider them? That's a very good question, and honestly, it's a very hard question. The reason why it's a very hard question, right, is so. For example, if you are ever to consider education or experience, right, you are considering that as a proof that this person is capable, right? So a very hard thing with that question is that Of course that I would consider anyone, right? But in reality, if we remove the empathy and all of that stuff, what is really hiring, right? Like when you're hiring, let's imagine you and I have a company and you're hiring a person. What are you actually trying to prove during the interview process? Okay, does anyone know this person in the circle where we work in Copenhagen, let's say? Is this person normal? Yes. Can he do the job? Yes. Okay, great. That's what you're kind of trying to get to, right? So it's not that somebody cares if you studied or not, or these are just some kind of ways to determine if that person has done something to enable themselves to be good, right? So I mean, it's hard for juniors today, right? Because, and I mean, always has been hard to some degree, because it's not about, you know, if somebody would give you a chance. Of course, I think that people are inherently kind, and we would all give chance to each other. It's just very hard, right? Because if there's you, and if there's a person like you who has experience, I will always choose a person with experience. It's not because I don't want to give you a chance, it's because I can only hire one person. And hiring is very expensive. Like, people don't realize, especially people on LinkedIn who complain about hiring, is like, oh, I don't think that they even read my CV. But no, majority of companies, I mean, even unicorn companies, right? They don't have the resources to go through thousands of CVs. I mean, when I'm going through CVs, we use this Workable platform, workable.com. I maybe personally spend 20-30 seconds on a CV. Why? Because there's hundreds of people who apply. I mean, if I would read these CVs for the entire duration of their length, I would do no work, right? So it's not about empathy or not. It's about, it's just statistics, unfortunately, right? So when you as a junior apply, you might have or might not have qualifications, at least formal one. It's just you're in disadvantaged position, not because you're maybe even better 10 times than somebody who has qualifications, but we don't know that, right? And I don't have the time and money to invest into making this process rigorously long, so I decipher that, right? So in simple words, it's not about if somebody would give you a chance, it's simply you need to hire very quickly. And you try to remove uncertainty by references, by hiring people that you know. So for example, a lot of people don't know that when a position at the company is opened, what do you do first? You ask your internal people, hey, John Doe, do you know any TypeScript developers? Have you worked with one who is looking for a job? That's the cheapest way to hire. You have internal employee that you already trust, who has a person that they trust. Like, I mean, I was hired like that in past 3 companies instantly. They called my references. Hey, I'm not going to name anybody. Is Alex good? Yep. Next day. But when you apply, so what I'm trying to say, you are in a huge disadvantage, especially if you're applying from a foreign country, etc., etc., etc. Like, furthermore of these things you add on top of this complexity, the harder it is. So the easier it is, okay, we hire internally in the company. Okay, we don't have anybody internally. Let's go with the partner companies we work with. Then let's go in Copenhagen. Then let's hire in Denmark. Then let's hire in the European Union. Then let's hire globally, right? So this is kind of how it works. So hiring is hard, and it's hard for both us who apply and for companies who have to hire. So my pleasure, man. Okay, let's see any other question. Hype train. What? Hype train? What? What is a hype train? The fuck is that? Oh, we got some subs. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, man. That's very kind of you. Thank you. I didn't see it. Twitch propaganda. Yeah. Okay, so let's see anyone else. Thank you. Is there any documentation? What service are you using to store images and get images? I'm using Cloudflare images. So let's just so the question basically is by Zaire, what service are you using to store images and get images? So Zaire, I can actually show you. So if we go to Cloudflare images, this is basically what I'm using. I think I'm paying $10 a month. It's useless, but yeah, it's a great service. So this service is very similar to, let's see, GCP S3. or actually to say to Bitbucket, I'm sorry. No, S3, yeah. Sorry, Google Cloud Storage, my bad. So it's very similar to Google Cloud Storage or AWS S3. So it's basically just an object storage with the exception that this is tailored for images. So let me show you. So if I log in there very quickly, yeah, here it is. So if we go to Cloudflare Images, this is how the UI looks like. You have 100 images stored, I believe, a month. This is how many images have been delivered the last 30 days. And then as you can see here, I can click on an image. Hopefully it's not like a porn image or anything, no. So somebody uploaded this. Let me just move this window here so I can read your questions. Thank you everybody for the subs. So if we go here, so you can see we have, so here you can see all the downloaded, uploaded images, but then there's more things you can see, right? So if we go here, so Cloudflare images have something called variants. And you can create different variants. So think of actually Next.js that we discussed. So you can see here you have variants, and what Cloudflare images do, they create mobile versions, in this case, for example, of the images on the edge. That means when I upload an image, they're going to create different variants of that image. They're going to create an image for mobile to load on and for desktop. So basically you can see, for example, I have mobile images as well. And how do I do that? I simply create a variant and I say, hey, whenever I upload an image of some large size, I want you to scale it down, strip all metadata, blah, 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 right? So when you upload your profile image, that image, of course, I compress that in the front end and then in the API, and then I send it to Cloudflare. But then Cloudflare creates a variant of that thing as well, right? And you can see here, you can do some blurring and stuff, blah, 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 blah. So, but yeah, it's called Cloudflare Images. They have some new things that I haven't tried. They have the sourcing kit. They have transformations that I also haven't tried, and able to optimize and manipulate images there. But you can see it's quite an awesome service. So that's what I use at Programmer Network. My pleasure. Thank you very much for the subs, guys. I appreciate it. All right, let's see a few more, and then we have to write some code. Come on. I'm learning JavaScript, and I learned that it's single-threaded. I don't think, Zaino, that you should care about concurrency right now. I think you should just build apps, and that's very, very early and too theoretical for you to wrap your head around, right? It's not better or worse. It's not better or worse. It's just concurrency is a subject that's a little bit more complicated to understand now because you haven't built apps that are concurrent, and concurrency and parallelism and multi-threading, these concepts are kind of often put in the same bucket, but they're not the same thing, especially when it comes to JavaScript, which indeed is single-threaded, and it's also falls under the concurrency part, but it's not multi-threading, right? And it's not parallelism. So people often use word parallel with JavaScript, and in practice, you could achieve that in JavaScript, but you would have to, use service workers or spawn certain things. But yeah, JavaScript is single-threaded, so I would say don't worry much about that now. In fact, you should not think about that type of stuff for a long time until you actually build some things, right? But if you want to know about that, I'll be very happy to share a video with you where you can kind of understand the... So if you want to understand Node.js's event loop, which essentially operates on a C library, so Node.js event loop is written on... give me 1 second. So this is the library that let me share my screen. Give me a second. So libuv is the this library enables concurrency in JavaScript, right? So this libuv is the library that is used for the event, so for the nodejs event loop, right? I followed that thing, Numinex. I followed that thing throughout. Yes. Give me 1 second. I followed that fully. Give me 2 seconds. And actually, I mean, he did introduce it, right? It's just it was patched very fast, right? All right, cool. All right, well, I mean, I haven't done anything yet, so that's a little bit depressing, isn't it? It is. It doesn't really matter. Just keep slamming these questions, fellas. I'm very happy. Many Numinex. I'm very sure many of them. No question about that. If you believe that's not true, if somebody believes that's not true, you really have to be very naive because, I mean... And I don't know if you followed, that exploit was caught completely randomly. A developer from Microsoft was debugging performance of his Postgres database. He opened a task manager on Windows, and he saw that Postgres process was having latency spikes, right, of 500 milliseconds. So it wasn't even resource, whatever. And then he realized it's related to SSH server and stuff like that. So he literally discovered it by complete random accident, right? If he didn't, maybe nobody would ever caught it by now, right? Who knows? It's quite scary. I agree with you. TypeScript just adds types to JavaScript, so that is the simplest way to explain it. That is a simplest way to explain it, pretty much. But again, I can see Zyno. I think you're taking a very dangerous path, right? It seems to me that what you're doing right now is you are overflowing yourself with information that you cannot. You're overflowing yourself with information you cannot conceptualize or understand. So what you're doing right now is a classical syndrome of a junior developer who is trying to be somewhere way faster than possible, right? You just asked me two completely inconsistent questions. You asked me a question about concurrency in JavaScript, multi-threading, and then about TypeScript, right? But then your initial thing was, I'm learning JavaScript, right? So, and I don't blame you. You are again the victim of YouTube. You're a victim of too much content. Heck, even this stream is probably useless to you. You should probably go and build things, right? You can come to stream like this to get inspired, to ask a question, to be my guest. But what you need to do is you need to build simple things before you get yourself to a point of even discussing types and concurrency and stuff like that, right? And it takes time to get there. So I would say, don't allow that scope creep, as we call it, to slow you down, right? Because you're on a very dangerous path of starting to think about subjects that even if I explain to you, you will not conceptualize and understand, because you can only conceptualize it in practice. You can maybe theoretically memorize it and be able to parrot it to someone else, but in reality, there's no chance you can understand that right now, right? So focus on overcoming very basic things, and then when you overcome these things, time will bring you. The thing is, like, right, these are very natural things. You don't have to worry about being too late or too soon, right? You're learning tools right now. So you get yourself to the point where you need these tools. Imagine that I do this. Wait. Imagine that I come to your house, right? Randomly. You imagine that you wake up, right? And you're like, man, can you show me how to use this? And I'm like, why? I mean, it looks like an interesting tool, super cool looking. And I'm like, but what are you gonna do with it, right? What are you gonna do with this now? What are you doing in your apartment that you need this tool right now? Well, I'm painting the wall. Why do you need a drill to paint the wall? Well, I will need this drill, right? One day. And then I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna show you how to use a drill. And then 3 years later, you need a drill. And you're like, fuck, man, I have no idea how the drill looks like. It's been so long, right? But when you need this drill, when the time comes that you need to drill something in your wall, it's gonna take you 2 minutes to understand what this does. Because you have a application, you have a use for this drill. You need to drill something or put a screw in your wall and stuff like that, right? So you cannot learn concepts ahead of time, concepts that you cannot apply into anything, right? So that's how it works, right? These are very tangible tools, and you learn tools when you need them, not to theorize about them, right? That's the same problem with algorithms and data structures and a lot of these things. People parrot this crap, they never use it, and then they forget it. Why do they forget it? Well, of course they're going to forget it because they're not using it. How can you memorize something that you learn and then never use again in your life? You don't, right? It's impossible. What is happening here? Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I'm after so many of these questions, I usually don't know where I am anymore. Okay, I see. And thank you everybody for your follows and subs, all of that. Yeah. I see. Okay, personal details is now here. Divide Y. Okay. Primary text color. So we have some divider here, right? Is that what I'm seeing here? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of that. All right, cool. So that I like. Okay. I just want to finalize this crap once and for all because it's been just and if you have the questions, please keep asking them. It's social platforms. Do you watch football? A negative. I never did in my life. I used to play tennis, so that's the only sport that I know. That's the only sport that I pretty much know, to be very frank with you. Give me 1 second. Just use server-side rendering, Alex. Yeah, I just need to check one thing in production. Give me a second. Because I think at one point somebody reported that this might be broken. Yeah, okay. We need to fix that right away. The request is not multi-part. Wow, okay, really? Okay, I see. That's why nobody was changing the... Ah, shit, man. Nobody reported that. Okay, we'll need to fix that. And we will in a second. So we need to... Okay, doesn't matter. So let's imagine that that's okay for now. We need to fix that. UI settings. Yeah, that's also not super great. Articles, yeah, not too great. And then I need to finalize. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'll just push these things very quickly. I'm just gonna push this to production, improve dashboard, whatever. There's too many changes to commit them separately. Let's smack this to prod. So if we go to our this open source CL library I wrote, the Nominex, and we search for TipTap right here, we can try. I think that TipTap has TipTap does support some Markdown, right? You can see it here. So you can see, for example, if I go here and press hash and then space, I'm writing H1. If I do this, it's gonna write H3. If I do this, it's gonna do bold, but that's nothing to do, right? So it does work properly. That's kind of how you would write. So it's not like writing H1, it's this, right? No, there's no, this is fully secured. I built the whole system. So actually, I think many of you should, if you need a rich text editor, you should take a look at Yale, because I think I built this really well. So if you take a look at Yale, let me show you how. Let me show you very quickly how I built Yale, right? So let me show you when it comes to rich text editing, right? So what I'm using for my rich text editor is TipTap, right? The reason why I'm using TipTap is because javascript, which used to be something that Facebook maintained, they deprecated it. Now they have lexical.js, and I will never use anything other than React by Facebook in my life. Once I stop using React, it's, yeah. So they had this one, they deprecated it, they switched to this one. It's terrible. TipTap whatsoever is a solid implementation on, I can show you here. It was very painful. So TipTap, as you can see, is an abstraction on top of the prose mirror. For those of you who don't know, prose mirror is a API built for building rich text editors in the browser. Why do you need an API for building rich text editor in the browser, you might ask? It's a logical question. Because building rich text editors is very hard. Why is it very hard? You might ask the follow-up question. Well, it's hard because you need to do a lot of JavaScript to achieve that. You need to monitor where the cursor is in the editor. You need to implement leaves and nodes and blocks and stuff. If you don't know these concepts, every rich text editor in the browser, no matter which one it is, or if you want to build your own, has a concept of anchors and focus and blocks and leaves and nodes. And these are basically things like, this would be some sort of a leaf. This cursor position right now is set in state. Is my cursor at the start of the string, or is my cursor at the end of the string? Is it here? Is something highlighted? Is there a block? Is the text indented? So there's a lot of complexity. That's why Prose Mirror as an API exists with an insanely huge API. As you can see here, there's a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff you can do. So you can do that, or you can use an abstraction such as TipTap. TipTap is a company that raised money from Y Combinator. Y Combinator, if you haven't heard, is the most popular incubator accelerator in the world. So these guys raised money. They raised a couple of $1 million to build this text editor, as you can see. Of course, when I'm making technical decisions, as we previously discussed, I'm making them based on some serious assumptions, right? Who the hell is building this? How long is this going to be maintained? Do they have people to improve this and maintain it? So all of these things checked in the context of TipTap, right? They raised money, they have a good team, they're building features, and also on top of it, they provide some premium features as well. So for example, what are the premium features, you might ask? Well, things that luckily I don't need now, maybe never, but they have content AI, collaboration editor. So if you get over here, so I can actually show you the product, let's take a look at the content AI. So they provide pretty simple implementation of these LLMs, various other things, right? So collaboration, so basically like WebSocket, real-time collaboration. So you open up an editor and then you can see you can collaborate with other people, so etc. But these are extra features. Anyway, the thing is free pretty much for 90% of the features. And then of course they also offer the plugins that you can also buy. And again, when I say buy, these things are so cheap, especially if you have established business. It's like $150 or whatever, right, per month. So for an established business, that's nothing. Anyway, that's not the point. This is not to sell them, right? So as you can see, TipTap is based on extensions. I've wrote some extensions already for Programmer Network, but as you can see, some of these extensions are pro, meaning you have to pay for them. 90% of them are free. As you can see, there are many of them here. So basically, the system of TipTap is based on extensions. And that's where I'm trying to take you now in the implementation that I have in my Yale library that I wrote and in Programmer Network. So I'm going to show you that in a second. But as you can see here, you have a bunch of extensions you can download. You can write your own. They have the extensions API. And if we go here to documentation, we can search for extend existing extensions or create new extensions. So they have a very simple API here on how you can build your own plugins, extensions, whatever you want to call them, inside of TipTap. This is amazing. This is super cool because you can build your own experience inside of the editor. Maybe the bold or H1, whatever, is not enough. Maybe you want to extend your rich text editing so a user can insert a table or a custom React component that takes some input. So it's really limits your imagination. But as you can see here, you can create the actual extensions. Fairly simple. Again, sometimes you will need to hook into the Prose Mirror API a little bit lower. So of course, their abstraction is not going to cover all of your needs. You will oftentimes need to say, okay, well, I can't really achieve this with TipTap. I need to go more low level. Then you would kind of need to fall back to this a bit. Anyway, so with that said, now you have the context, right? If we go, don't drop the database. My friend, you're here again. So if we go back here, right? So if we go to TipTap that I implemented here, right? Let me actually show you. It's very interesting. I think I did it pretty well. And I'm going to show you why I think that. So if we go to, and this is open source, right? So you have access to this online, and I highly advise you to take a look at it. Because somebody mentioned XSS attack, right? And that's why I said this. So the way that I implemented my these little subsystem on top of TipTap works like this, right? So you have a TipTap component, and this component can take an extensions array. So you say, I have a TipTap that I want to have bold and heading 1. But I have another instance that takes YouTube video and image, for example. And I can show you that if you have signed up on Programmer Network, you will obviously notice already that here we're in this instance of TipTap, we're supporting bold, italic, link, blah blah blah. If I go to write a new article, you'll notice we're supporting a bunch of these extensions. If I go into a comment, you'll see that in the comment we're supporting these, right? So the way that I built it for Programmer Network, and this is open source, is you basically, when you instantiate your TipTap, so if we go to Storybook here, you'll notice that it takes this toolbar items. And toolbar items basically is just an enum or a list of strings of extensions. So you're saying, hey, I want bold and heading, right? So etc., etc., etc. So that's one thing. Now another thing that somebody mentioned is security, right? So how do you know, Alex, that somebody's not going to inject some crap in here, right? Well, we're using sanitized HTML. So I have basically built this on top of sanitized HTML, and sanitizer basically meaning it hooks into my TipTap now, so only the extensions I enable, we only support these HTML tags, right? So for example, you can see here, if we go into my, if all of this stuff is that I wrote, so these utilities and stuff, so I have this TipTap to HTML class that I wrote. I have this generate sanitized HTML. So why do I do that? So you can see that when I'm generating the HTML, I call this generate HTML and I give it the TipTap's content state. So TipTap generates this JSON content state that I stringify and then unstringify, whatever. So here I'm turning it back into an object, and then I give it here to generate HTML, right? And then this is my sanitization configuration. So here I list only the HTML tags that are allowed and attribute for each HTML tag that I allow. So you can see for anchor tag, I only support href and data type. For iframe, I only support src. For image, I only, right? So this way you can ensure that nobody is going to inject a script tag in your content, etc., etc., etc. So overall, basically, you have a TipTap, you have a sanitizer, and then you have a lot of options you can pass to an instance of your editor. So you can use it in different ways, right? So you can see here, it's pretty straightforward, but this is the magic with the headings. And then of course you have things like, I have one custom plugin, and a plugin is basically to tag, right? So if I come here and press this suggestions, right, is all of the tags that exist in a programmer network. So you can say TypeScript is the best, right? And then you post it, right? So that is basically how it works. So yeah, so it's so far for all of these years probably the best rich text editing solution that I've used. Draft.js was the previous one, and I bled. I remember Numinex was here. This used to be something that that Facebook used on Facebook.com, and they used to maintain that. Unfortunately, as you can see, they deprecated this thing on February 6th, so last year, in favor of lexical.js that I would not suggest, and I will personally never use. 500 issues, but this is basically, if you're using Facebook, I hope you're not, but if you're still registered there, this is what is running on Facebook right now. So this one. All right, that's pretty much about TipTap. That concludes the TipTap one. Give me 1 second. Shouldn't you speak good about Facebook? No, not really. Not really. All right, so that's that, right? Okay, so what did I want to do? What did I want to do? Where am I? Okay. I mean, man, I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that a lot, man. So what I'm gonna do, so you can see, basically, to be very frank with you, right? I'm gonna be focusing these streams mostly on helping people and, of course, writing code when you guys allow me. But I'm gonna be doing a lot of this work, improving this platform off stream, right? Because it's very difficult for me. I mean, as I said before I stopped streaming maybe 2 months ago, what I can code in one evening here in silence, I don't code in like 5 different streams, right? So that's why I'm here genuinely for people to just try to give them some guidance or at least share my opinion, right? So these streams, I will try to, sometimes I still need to, right? I still need to organize them a little bit better, but it's like, yeah, I think just raising an awareness of the platform, and I can incentivize some of you to use it, so I can then improve it, right? That would be an amazing goal, right? That's what I really want to do, right? We will turn you into influencer. I hope not. I hope not. I hope not, man. I don't want to be an influencer. But yeah, that is how it is. Luigi, okay, let me close this crap. I'll click it through for free if you click through my platform once. I'll be ready for that. What the fuck? I'll click through it for free. I mean, don't take this wrong, man, but I don't give a crap if you're gonna click on it or not. So, what the hell? I'll click through it for free. Are you freaking kidding me, man? I appreciate the theory and discussion. There's so many streams that are just showing dev, but no. Yeah, I mean, right? Billy, I have no idea what you're talking about. Of course, I'm going to incentivize. There's people watching this stream for a year now, and they're already incentivized. If you don't want to go and sign up, you don't have to, man. Nobody's forcing you to do it. Do you know what is volume? No. What is that? Affiliate tracker. Is this what you're referring to? Is this what you're referring to, Leo? Yeah, I've never seen this. One ad tracking tool. No, I've never seen this, no. But I understand what it does, yeah. Why are you asking? I mean, for programming network, we're never going to have tracking. I mean, again, this is just a side project in a way, right? But if you're referring to this, no. We'll never be tracking anything. Just optimization statistics. Like Cloudflare right now is tracking in theory, right? So if you take a look at the network tab, right, you will notice some strange stuff. Is like, what is RAM, right? Well, this stuff is executed by Cloudflare, but there's no PII data. There's no private identifiable data, right? It's just tracking metrics of JavaScript execution and stuff like that, right? But there's no PII data. So when I say we will never be tracking anything, what I mean to say, let me rephrase it so you don't misunderstand it, we will never going to be tracking any PII data, right? Will I be tracking some performance metrics, heat maps and stuff? Maybe, if it helps. But that has no correlation to identifying the user, and that doesn't fall under the GDPR, right? Because so as long as you're not using PII data, tracking is technically, nobody cares. And as you know, and we'll always try to use first-party cookies and don't track the PII, right? Yeah, man, it's progressing a lot. It's progressing a lot. I practice every day. I practiced before this streaming session as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just consistency as always, nothing else, right? Just practice every day for whatever you do it every day, and it's so easy. I mean, I'm also a musician, right? So that makes it easier as well, right? So it's not that I'm learning everything from scratch, but the saxophone, in a physical sense, yes, it is from scratch, right? That's weird. Okay. What happened here, though? Give me a second, Leo. Is this... Am I looking at the right thing, though? Wait a minute. No, I'm not. Okay. Dashboard, courses, views, course. Ah, I see what's happening. Okay. I think you can... I think there's a stack in here. Yeah. All right, so it is actually rendered. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, it is rendered. Okay. So what's happening here then? Ah, dashboard list. Okay, so the list is empty, I suppose, right? Yeah. So the list layout. So this fella here, most likely, right? So if it's loading, what the fuck? I'm using plain React. What the hell is happening with this view, man? Like, what is this? That's so weird. So, dude, like... Oh, wow. Okay, that's so weird. What? Oh, wow. All right, so there's some state mismatch here. Okay, good to know. Wait. I see what's happening. Okay, fair enough. Exactly. How dare you use something that's not... didn't come 3 seconds ago? What, dude? Oh shit. No, but yeah, this... what All right. Jesus Christ, man. Why did I do that? All right, cool. Give me 2 seconds. All right, cool. Okay, so let's now we need to start kind of making all of these things work again, because it was a huge refactor I did. So let's see if these things still work. Actually, they do, surprisingly. I didn't expect that, but that's good. Edit course, let's see. Yeah, these things are still operational. I mean, that's great. Okay. Add section. Okay, so we'll need to now start normalizing this and stuff like that. Okay, so let's start with these things. So let's start cleaning up. There's a lot of random margins here and stuff, things that really shouldn't be there anymore. Thank you everybody for your follows and all of the other stuff. If you have any questions, please just ask. All right, that's good to know. It's been a long time since we built this, and now it's time that we slowly start. Properties of okay, fair enough. Okay, Gary, let's open up our API here. Where is our amazing API? API, here it is. Okay, cool. So let's see what happened. What are we actually calling here? Which endpoint am I calling? I'm calling courses. Yeah, okay, cool. So let's go to courses, courses controller, right? Update course, right? And this is what we're calling basically, right? So something in here is saying, hey Alex, well, I cannot read the ID, man. What are you talking about, dude? I don't know, Alex, what the hell are you talking about? So, but why? So is this because we don't have authorization tokens set? Let's take a look at the cookies, right? So maybe we don't, yeah, so we do have the actual cookie set, right? So that's good, right? Let's make sure that this is in fact, the update course. Let's make sure that this is what we are actually in fact calling. V1 course is slug. What slug? Request parameters update course. So maybe, oh yeah, I think I might remember this. So let's take a look here at our console. Let's extend this. So if I do this, so let's actually let's just do this cow. Are we getting a cow? So we're not actually getting to that point. So why? Let's take a look at that. So if we go here, so this is where we're basically calling it. So let's disable the so let's go to this decorator. So let's go to our decorators. So this is the decorator. So potentially I believe that something here could be an issue. So let's see if we're running this decorator in the first place, right? So let's print this and let's run that again. And then we'll see it's maybe this decorator, this middleware as you would call it, let's say in Express would, yeah, so here we get into the decorate, great, okay. So now we're here, we could run a debugger that would save us some time, but let's print the params. So let's actually print the user first. No, let's do the params here. Request.params, right? So let's do this and let's go back here. So slug1, okay, so it's a string. So slug is 1, that's cool. So it seems that this is the issue. The author ID might be the issue. Because at this point on, wait a minute, yeah, okay. So this is the problem, right? Because we're running this in pre-handler, and so no, actually on request should deserialize the user, right? So at this point in time, the request user should in fact be there, right? So let's take a look at that. So I think, let's see if it's an order of the decorators in Fastify that we're dealing with here, but I don't think so. But, you know, you never know. So here it is. So is course author. So, so yeah, here's the user is there. ID and username is there, right? Okay. So ID is in fact, so request, so this author ID technically is there. So this doesn't seem to be an issue. Let's just confirm that. Yeah. So author ID is 1. Okay, we know that the issue is not here, okay? But this is not going to work in such a way, right? This ID is probably farting out, I suppose. Wait, because this course here, we're not going to be able to find because the slug is 1. I see what's happening. So we kind of left this, I believe, in a very middle ground state long ago, right? So exactly, right? So what happens here is that this guy farts out. Let's say here, you know, if no course, right? Let's just try this, just as a debugging way, right? So update. And I suspect now that we get 4 of 4 back, right? Let's try that again. Yeah, now we're getting 4 of 4, right? Okay, so we found the bug, or to say unfinished piece of thing, right? So here, so I think long ago in a stream, we started switching these. So instead of updating by the ID, basically we wanted to update the course by the actual slug, right? So in fact, I think what I wanted to do in the front, let's go back to the front end, right? So if we go to update course, I suppose, handle update course, right? Yes. We have this partial thing. So if we go to this interface, right, hopefully we have a slug as part of it, right? So let's print this fella over here. And if we print it again, let's see what we get. Do we get a slug here? No, we don't get a slug. Why don't we get a slug? Well, because the slug is part of the URL. So that's what we have to get from the actual URL, right? So over here, handle update course. Where is this? Inside of the course, right? We need to hook into the parameters, right? So here are the parameters, right? So handle update course, right? So what we need to do, pretty much, we need to spread this, I suppose, and then say slug params.slug as string. We're gonna cast it here, right? So if we get over here now again, and we print this again, hopefully the slug is gonna be there, and it is. Here's the slug, so that's good now, right? So now we're gonna head to our API. Okay, so let's take a look at our database. Let's take a look at our Postgres, and if we go to courses, did we extend, in fact, our courses with the slug? Yeah, we did. So here it is. So if we take a look at the slug, that's the single course we have. So this is a slug. Okay, that's great, right? So now if we go back here, in theory, this slug should now be, in fact, here, right? So let's go back here and let's hit this fella here. And if we go all the way down, request param slug. Okay. Okay, I see. So I think we need to go to the router here, and this slug here. I see what's happening. Okay. So the problem is this, right? So here we need to say dot slug. Okay, great. So if we go back now again, let's try it now again. Bam, now it works, right? So can I upload? Are you being updated? And there we go. Are you being updated, right? If you refresh, let's see what happened. And of course, now one of the issues that we didn't do, right? We didn't update the slug in the UI, right? So of course this worked. Let's go to our settings page and go to courses again, right? No, actually, that's not what I want. I want to. Can't I? Okay, I see. Okay, never mind. So that's good. So we're gonna continue with this now, actually. So let's now go back to the courses. I think I left this in such a strange state. Okay, so if we go to dashboard and we go to courses again and we go to dashboard courses, we need to figure some stuff out. So here we're gonna have this course item component. And what do we have here? And click navigate to the slug. So actually, I'm not gonna do this for now. I don't know why my wow, that's super weird. Okay, I'm just gonna do this for a second. Okay, good. So we have this navigate handler in the wrong place. Let's just put this on an H2 or something like that, right? But then this is gonna bubble up the event, right? So this is not gonna work, right? Let's take a look at that. Yeah, exactly. So that's not gonna work. I mean, we have to stop the propagation or something like that, right? So here we can say e.stop propagation, right? That should stop this event from propagating, right? I guess, right? Nah. I mean, it should in theory, right? But it doesn't. Okay. I see. Okay. Well, you know what? Actually, no. Yeah, shit. Ooh, this one is the problem, not the upper one, right? So we would need to this item actions. Is this something that I built as part? Yeah. So we need to open this open source UI library that I built, and we need to go to item actions there. And in there, I'm sure that somewhere here, the way that I built this component, right? In Luigo, so we need to deploy this to npm very quickly. So here, I believe we need to stop propagation, right? Wait, what am I looking at? I forgot how I did this. Yeah, that's correct, right? So here, we should have E. So here I'm going to say E dot stop propagation. Right? So something like that. And we have some other handler as well, right? Yeah, so we have two of them. One for edit and one for delete, right? Cool. So I'm going to do this. Oops. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do the same, right? So I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do that. And then, yeah. I think this should, in theory, do it, right? So let's push this to npm. So let's bump this up. Let's go to here. And let's push to master first. Did I actually commit this at all? No, I didn't. Okay, well, there's nothing to push. Okay. So that's fine. And then we added this stuff. Okay, so let's just whatever. Stop. Whatever. Okay, cool. So let's push this to master, and then we need to create a tag. What version is this? 109. Oh, yeah, okay. So let's say tag, and then let's push a new tag to our GitHub and repo. And let's go to GitHub very quickly. And where is it? Yale over here. Let's wait for this thing to deploy very quickly. Okay, while I'm waiting 1 minute for this. Any questions? Ah. All right. Everybody's sick of my answers. I get that. All right, let's switch back to this. Then I'm going to go here. Then I'm going to go here. Then I'm going to go here. I'm going to bump this up. And then I'm going to close this crap. Shit. Just going to wait for this to deploy. What did you ask? Just paste them back. I'm too lazy to scroll. Okay, wait, let me switch to the chatting screen. All right, so okay, Baxi, give me. Okay, so let's first answer this. If you create a React Vita app, isn't that your framework as it changes your whole project structure, like bases? Well, first of all, Leo, React is not a framework; it's a library. There's a significant difference. Framework usually is a full packaged solution to something. AngularJS is a good example of a UI framework because it comes with all of the pieces combined together. So you set that up and you're done. React is just a Vue library. So the base React without the router, without other things, is just a UI library. So that's number one. And number two is not really. I mean, you can render another app inside of another app. You can render 5 different versions of React apps in the same app. You could set up Vue.js as a singular component in your React, right? That's not something you would generally want to do, but in theory and in practice as well, of course you can do that, right? It's just, your question is valid. It's just, it's unrealistic. Why would you ever do that, right? Why would you use 2 UI libraries for the same project, right? So, that's what it makes a question a little bit tricky, because of course you can do that. You can use jQuery with React. You can use D3.js with it has its own state machine and stuff like that, right? So of course you can do that. It's rare that you would do that, but it's very common that you use D3.js for drawing your plots and stuff like that. D3 has its own kind of way that it manages state internally, and you basically still use it with React. So that's an example of using 2 systems together. Vue.js or any other thing with React, that would not be reasonable to do. It's not that, it's just, why would you do that, right? All right, next question is, how do you prevent burnout? Balance, right? There's really, this is a very simple question, and the answer, you first have to, make a step back, analyze yourself. Self-awareness is one of the most vital skills of human beings. If you develop self-awareness, self-critique, discipline, you can achieve anything in life. That's my absolute conviction. And burnout, what is burnout? Stand in front of a whiteboard and ask yourself, what is burnout? Burnout is imbalance of something. You did something that just put you in a state where you're not feeling well. You can burn out from work, from drinking too much alcohol, from playing too much tennis. So that's not always related to work. So burnout is you not balancing your life properly, not having friends or relationships or hobbies or family or something like that. For me, I have family, which is my absolute priority in life. I have a wife and kid, and hopefully more kids in the future. So that prevents me. That is the shield against self-destruction, because human beings by nature are self-destructive. We are killing ourselves slowly every single day, right? So if you want to prevent burnout, find hobbies, play an instrument. I play saxophone now. I play guitar my whole life. I think music is the greatest cure for soul. That's really the only time when I shut down is when I play an instrument, when I sing. And also, family is a huge part of life. So if you right, and of course, physical exercise is highly needed. So all of these combinations, all of this combination can be aggregated in a single thing called balance, right? You cannot work 10 hours a day or 15 hours a day, and right. So that is really how it is. You have to set some priorities in your life. Your work should not be your priority. Your company is something that came now, and one day you're going to quit it, and you're going to join another one. So these things are some experiences which you should cherish and enjoy and create relationships and friends along the way. But family and your either close family, your larger family should be, and yourself should be priority. You should be priority of yourself, nobody else. And these things you understand as I'm 35, so I had enough of years, I guess, so far to understand these things. And if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will take care of you, right? Nobody else really cares. Your company and you, for instance, if you talk about work, you have agreed on terms of mutual interest. When one of the parties no longer have the same interest, you're either going to get fired or you're going to quit. So never imagine that your work is somewhat your family or your something. Your work is a mutual, you and your job are two parties that mutually agreed that we will pay you this much for your services. So, and the reason why I'm mentioning work now is because a lot of people lose themselves in work. They think it's some sort of integral part of their lives, but it's not. It should be. I mean, you should. I work from the office. I love my colleagues. I love hanging out with them, drinking coffee, messing around, throwing stupid jokes. So that's what I like. But I'm very much aware that if I'm not performing or if I'm not doing well, my company will be very happy to get rid of me. And so will I get rid of them as well if I'm not happy with them as well. Anyway, find the balance. That's the answer to burnout. There was another question. How would you advise how to get better at designing UIs? You have to mimic. In order to get better at design, you have to do what all of the designers do. You have to get inspired. Go to Google, type free web templates, see what designers are doing, find the trends, and mimic. Do a clean design, simple design, minimalistic design, because while doing this type of design, you will prevent setting yourself up for failure. So, but just mimic. The best product managers on the planet, they check other products when they're implementing features on their own end. Best UI, UX designers are doing massive amount of research, massive amount of inspiration from other products. So don't imagine that there's some designer out there who's born with these skills. We all mimic each other. We all get inspired. And if you look at the car as an object, I mean, car has evolved in the looks and feel and speed and quality, but it's still a mimic. It still, mimics the original shape of that vehicle, right? So it's no different with design. If you want to get good at design as a developer, especially if you don't really have an eye or a feeling, or if you don't care about it, then the best thing you can do is really mimic things, right? That's what I do, and I think I got very good at design by just looking what other designers are doing. It would be irrational to expect otherwise, because I cannot be an amazing designer if I'm not designing and if I don't have the time. So hence, what can I do? Well, I can just learn to utilize what's already there, right? All right, any other questions? Yeah, we had one from Achi, I believe. Give me 1 second. So we have a question from Achi. I'm new to React and currently I'm doing a project using Next.js. Any advice for me? I don't know, actually. It's funny, there's a lot of Next.js questions lately. It's crazy. I mean, I started streaming 3 days ago again. I haven't been streaming in 2 months, and I'm new to React, and currently I'm doing a project using Next.js. Any advice from me? Is it okay to use Next.js in the future? So actually, why did you start with Next.js? Because you're not learning just React, you're learning a bunch of other things now that came with that, right? So now you're no longer learning a UI library. Instead of focusing on UI library and the internals of React, now you have coupled yourself to learning a bunch of other things which are server-side rendered and with APIs and file-based routing and image optimization. So you're not really learning React, you're learning a full-fledged server-side rendered framework, right? So I definitely don't advise you to do that. And the most importantly, you don't even know why, right? You're doing it because maybe you have seen some YouTube video or a Udemy course or some friend told you about it, or you've seen it on Twitter, right? So, so I cannot tell you that well, okay. I mean, so you say React recommends to use a framework. I spoke about that at the start of the stream. So it doesn't really matter what React recommends, right? React team has they have other reasons why they recommend that, right? So, and the reasons are not what you think they are, right? The reasons are marketing reasons. Reasons is that right now in the community, The server-side rendering for some reason is popular, so they're basically competing with Vue.js and with other basically libraries or frameworks, right? So they're not recommending that. But even if they're recommending it out of the best intentions, it still doesn't mean much to you, right? Because they're recommending that for production, right? Anyway, which I absolutely disagree with anyway. But so yeah, but you should focus on just learning React, right? Because other things are just details. Yeah. That's how it is. All right. Ah, shit. You can see my OBS. Interesting. All right, cool. So, okay, so let's take a look at this. My pleasure. Again, take every advice with a grain of salt, including mine, right? So I'm not by no means stating that my knowledge suppresses, or my opinion, even more importantly, suppresses anything else, right? Here, take my opinion with a grain of... the only thing that I want any of you to take out of this stream is that you should use your own brain. That's... if I can leave that impact on some of you, I already succeeded, right? So this is not about what's right or wrong, because there's no right or wrong here. It's just not to be absolute because you're influenced, right? You cannot, as a serious technical or a serious professional, you cannot base your architectural decisions on I heard, he said, she said, and call yourself an engineer. That is an insult to that title. If you want to call yourself an engineer and you are engineering by opinions of random people on the internet, including me, then you're not an engineer. So that is my whole point. And that's what I'm trying to convey throughout all of these streams past year. So you have to be analytical, you have to develop critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and not be basing your... whenever I ask a follow-up question to most people, they have no idea. They don't know what to answer because they haven't even thought things through. I guess it's just low effort. Oh, I'm going to do what somebody else said that I should do, right? So if you want to call yourself an engineer ever in your career, you have to be reasonable, right? You cannot just expect, like base your whole existence on someone else's opinion, right? Nick is asking if I'm building something like a web forum, would SSR be used for the search engine indexing? Well, I mean, forums are generally first of all, forums are generally intranets. They're not public, right? Many forums are not public, right? A forum, I mean, depending, Nick, what type of forum it is, right? So if it's a fully public thing where you don't have to log in or anything, you can just, if it's like Reddit, right? Yes and no. It depends, right? Depends because forums are not a place. It really depends. I would need more details, right? So to some degree, you could optimize it, right? But it's hard to I cannot give you a partial response, Nick. I'm sorry. I would need more details, right? It's very broad, right? It's depends what the problem is, right? Your site is going to be indexed with or without server-side rendering, right? The performance of one or the other is questionable, of course. We are all assuming still to this day that server-side rendering is better for SEO, and that's probably still to some degree or even most degree true. The main question, Nick, is how much is it better? And is that compromise worth the investing into a full-fledged framework that influences fully how you build your product, right? Do you understand what I mean? This is the whole point of choosing a technology ever. You are willing now to take a whole entire path into building a product based on a maybe. You don't know, right? But then with that gain, if in theory, if that gain exists, you're going to introduce a bunch of other negatives of that tool. So don't, like Next.js or anything out there has goods and bads. There's no library, language, whatever. Nothing is perfect, right? So you need to sit down and write these things down, right? What do you get and what do you lose, right? It takes a lot of skills, discipline, time, effort to build a product. And you should start building your product and focus on building the product. These things, if they ever come, if you accomplish that somebody actually uses your product, I'm sure you will solve the indexing issues, right? So I would say pick whatever you're the most comfortable with and don't get carried away by these details. But again, keep in mind that, in my opinion, using things like Next.js has way worse consequences in most cases than the good ones. And if your whole product depends hugely on SEO, and if that compromise is worth it, then of course you should use it. But you just have to be aware of other things that are not so great, right? Your whole architecture of your project is going to be defined by the constraints of that tool, right? Whereas if you decouple these things, let's say you use some UI library, it can be React, Angular, Vue, whatever you want. If you decouple these two ends, there's a lot of benefits there as well, right? Your servers are easier to scale, they're cheaper, they're faster. You can build a mobile app using the same API, a freaking watch app, 15 other apps, right? So there's many consequences that any serious technical person has to think about, right? That's why I say if you're starting a new project, you cannot start it because of a single variable, SEO. Okay, but what about other things, right? And keep in mind, I mean, no matter what you use, this is basically to support what Matt is saying. If your platform doesn't have reasonable content that has value or that's original, that's not copied, it doesn't really matter what you use, right? Content at the end of the day means everything, right? I mean, LinkedIn is a terrible platform from a technical perspective, but it has a bunch of good content, right? Like business content, whatever. So there's a lot of these other implications of your indexing that's not related at almost 1% to the tool itself, right? So I would say sit down, make these technical decisions. Just you have to account for a lot of more things than a single variable, right? That's my point. Of course, yeah. Yeah, Matty, pretty much, man. I agree with you 100%. I've seen that countless times. Countless times, man. Hmm. Mm. Nah. Nah. Yeah, man, of course, man. But Matty, do you see the difference now? Do you see the difference in what you're saying? You're stating the factual things that you guys have tried. You're sharing the real experience. You're not theorizing from a Medium blog that somebody wrote, right? This is the real value of experience, right? You literally exactly are proving my points, right? There is too much of this theory. There's too many influencers and there's very much lack of experience. When these two things collide, it's chaos. You have a person who's never actually built anything. His or her whole experience is based on hearing others doing it or watching videos. And then you have a guy who's never done actually anything other than technology X, so he or she is selling that. That combination is fatal, right? Because one side, actually neither of the side actually has the experience. This guy that's selling you content is just saying crap and finding audience for that, right? It's a terrible combination of things. Okay, I see. Gotta love spending. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's totally worth it, right? Yeah. Huh, interesting. That is interesting. Okay. Wow, okay, cool. But why? Okay. I mean, that's okay, I guess, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. So that one we fixed. Adding this stuff. Let's see. You should, like, again, as I always say, there's nothing more that values for you as a professional than being valuable, right? If you're still a code monkey, you're probably still a very junior person, right? So that's why these content creators are selling so much amazing content, because most of these people who consume this content have never actually been part of building products, right? Building in a real team, being under deadlines, being carried by value, by building something cool that solves a problem of a customer, right? Because that is the only tangible thing that matters, right? You can, no matter what type of code you write, if nobody's using that, or if you're building hello world apps on your computer, I mean, it's meaningless, right? It's like painting a picture that you put in your basement that nobody ever sees, right? It's useless, right? So once you shift your mindset and build things because of value, because of business, because of other things, this is what, again, as I said many times in my streams, 10x developer concept at Google is not a person that writes great code, has zero to do with code. Is the person that understands the product, the customer problem, person that can enable others, what to focus on, what to prioritize, etc., etc., etc. Right? So these are the core skills that every company wants to hire. Nobody wants to hire a guy who's like, I know 16 UI frameworks. Who gives a shit, man? Except you, nobody, right? Yeah, but I can write AngularJS. I mean, it's right? It's meaningless, right? And I mean, if you haven't learned that already, you will soon. I can write 16 programming languages. Oh man, everybody loves me because of this. I can write Rust, I can write C programming language. What have you built with that language? Oh, well, it doesn't matter what I built, bro. Remember these guys? Remember, Matthew, these guys are like, why are you not writing Rust programming language? And then I asked them, oh, really? Okay, so what did you build in Rust? And then they just leave. Oh, dude, that was beautiful. Okay, what did you build in Rust? The guy's just gone. I miss that. I miss these guys. I genuinely miss them. That was so fun. Lovely. How quickly can you make somebody leave the stream? Why are you not using Rust programming language? It's the best programming language. It's all, everybody's a programmer until they have to show reason. That is always funny. Course, forms, lectures, section, update section. Yeah, I mean, the hiring, the leading of the teams, right? The digital world, that's an art, right? I mean, you know, I've been working now for 16 years, and every company that I worked for was vastly different. And, you know, when you move to a different company and you do things in an X way, you for a time being think that that's the way, man. We are doing it. This is the way. We got it. We figured it out, right? And then you join another one. It's like, what the fuck? This is the way. That wasn't the way, right? So in simple words, man, it's a permutation of various variables that have to click together. And that is the problem, right? There's, of course, certain things that you could say are generally true, right? But a lot of these things are so, you know what I mean? Like, some of these things are so bound to the context, to the people, to the company, to the product manager, CTO, values. That's why, you know, a company, what is a company? Well, we know it's a group of people who decided for the mutual interest to work together. And these people in this company, in this place, in this country, with this culture have decided to work together. And they have their set of values, and they think that the way that they're doing things is the best way. And it is the best way, because it's best way for them, right? And because the set of circumstances made it that it is best for them. Of course, it cannot be the best for someone else, because these guys have different values, different dynamics, different people. They have 6 introverts and 1 extrovert. I don't know. You get the point. So it's silly to even expect that these things are going to be universal. Because working, if you take 5 human beings and sit them in the room just to stare at the ceiling, they're going to have a hard time sitting together, right? Out of these 5, somebody is going to dislike someone just by looking at them, right? Now add the complexity of building software, right? So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. No, that's not what I wanted. No, I mean, man, I'm just do that. If you trust me, man, I came here to just have fun with you guys. I mean, I'm just saying genuinely things the way that I genuinely believe and the way that I genuinely behave every day at work. I work as a tech lead, and everything that I say, I put money where my mouth is, genuinely, right? So it's no bullshit or something. It's like, it's just logical, right? And I see it every day, right? I mean, some of these things are just, you know, it's like, you know, like these books by Dale Carnegie and these, like, how do I become a millionaire? By sitting home, man. Sit home, play video games, right? I mean, a lot of things in life we have overcomplicated. We're overthinking it. Oh, how do I become rich? Sit home, man. Sit home and eat popcorn. That's how. How do I lose weight? Fuck, what could you do to lose weight? Maybe sit and eat all day on a couch. You know, I mean, come on, dude. Dude, you have these fucking idiotic influencers filling up stadiums talking about, you know, like losing weight. I mean, dude, Jesus Christ, man. What is going on, man? What is going on? Did I have? Oh yeah, I did. Your opinion on optimal senior, mid, junior level in team? I don't think there is such a thing, right? I wish I can tell you something more meaningful, but in my experience, these dynamics amongst the people are very difficult, right? I mean, it's also, yeah, it's such a broad question. It can be discussed from so many perspectives, right? It's also very hard. I don't even think that's possible to think about, to be honest. Because I don't think that anybody hires using ratios, right? You get what I mean? So it's very hard to decipher and give you an answer on something because you would need to literally do an experiment of consciously creating such a ratio where you hire explicitly people for that reason and then try to decipher out of the results of 10 teams of such, you know, I don't think it's, I don't know. And also titles are very vague. You have seniors who are actually juniors. You have juniors who are actually seniors. You have people who could be senior in one company, junior in another, and vice versa. These titles are very vague, right? Because what you might have in one company where the skill level, expectation and stuff could be super high or super low, right? So this has always been an issue, man, like of figuring out, you know, it's very hard, right? Because senior, junior, mid-level, god level, master level, whatever, is really a sort of a perception of others towards you and you being able to sell yourself in such a light. I'm sure that in many companies you can sell yourself as senior. In some, maybe you wouldn't be able to. Maybe they would say, well, you're actually not a senior. Well, I am. Well, you think that you are, but to us you are not, right? So that's why it's also hard to think about, at least for me, it's hard to think about these things, right? Okay, I'm not going to waste time with this. Let's just make sure this shit works at least, right? Out lecture, okay. Because I'm also exhausted from the discussions. I don't even know where I am. You know what? Let's do a question or two more and then let's round it up. My wife is still awake and I would like at least to see her for like a minute. And unfortunately, I always stop streaming because my streams are usually like 2 hours. I usually stop streaming when more people are coming in. So that kind of sucks. But if you guys, if any of you have anything that I can share my at least experience or view on, please ask now because I will have to go. But I'm willing to speak for a couple of more minutes if there's anybody who needs any help. Let's see. I'm gonna drink some water. Leo, thank you for being here, man. Likewise. A React compiler is not out yet. I'm actually looking forward very much for that. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how much of the pain their compiler is going to take away from us, because for a lot of people, a huge painful part about React is, in fact, figuring out when something re-renders, memoization, and all of that stuff, right? Charming troll. Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much for being here. It's always good to, it's always good to meet new people on the stream. There's a lot of people who are sticking around here for a long time. Matty has been here since I started streaming a long ago. So yeah, that's why I keep coming, because a lot of people keep. G Bounty has been here for a long time. Good evening, buddy. Awesome, Bexy, Leo, Bounty, Maddie, everybody. I gotta run. I have my best friend, my wife, in the living room, so I need to at least see her for a couple of minutes before. Flint is here as well. Thank you for saying something, Flint. I appreciate that, man. I wish more people would tune in. It's always more fun. Okay, guys, thank you. If you ever have the time, please spend 1 minute a day. If you're going to stick this stream, I would very much appreciate it. As I said, you don't have to subscribe. You don't have to do any of the things. I would very much appreciate if you can sign up, share a thought, put a like, break things. That's really why I stream as well. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And there's maybe one more question on YouTube. For future devs, what do you have to say in what to expect mentally? Nothing different, man. Nothing different. Software engineering industry is going to be very static to this for many years. AI is shaking up the landscape a little bit, but not that drastically as we always try to hyperbolize, right? With ever change, change is the hardest thing for human beings. So whenever there's something new in town, we always think of destruction, losing jobs, world is going to fall apart. But in reality, I support clients every day at work. I have phone calls with them. I fix their websites time to time. And I can tell you that we are more than safe, because you have billion-dollar companies literally that I had calls with that barely have working websites. So keep in mind that we are at the top of the iceberg of AI developers. So we have an impression that AI is just everywhere now, it's over. But you would be surprised how many years it's going to take for businesses, for marketing websites, for millions and millions of WordPress websites to suddenly become AI maintained, right? So there's hundreds of, maybe even trillions of dollars on the internet that somebody will have to maintain. And if you think that companies that have well-established websites that they spent millions of dollars, years of development, they're going to just suddenly stop and switch to machine learning and AI, you are very much wrong. So, as always, work hard. Don't expect the world to spin around you and adjust towards you. Follow what the trends are. Be on top of them. You don't have to learn them. Just know what's happening around you. Don't be spoiled. Don't complain. Don't be reactive. Be proactive in life. If there's something that doesn't work, fix it. Don't complain like a little bitch about it. And this is the formula for a successful life. Literally all you need. Build self-awareness. Compare yourself to yourself the day before, not to others. And these are some basic Stoic philosophy that if you apply, I promise you absolute results. And yeah, who doesn't like a proactive person, a doer? Nobody likes a complainer. Nobody likes a person who says things and don't put money behind that, or lead by example. If you want to affect change, you be that change. Don't just sit, drink coffee and bitch about others and not changing, right? So these are fundamental truths, and these truths have been true for centuries and decades and thousands of years since ancient Greece, right? And they have been written way before any of us were alive. So if you apply any of this philosophy in life, it's going to be a great life. And if you don't, it's not going to be so great. Since pretty much Stone Age, exactly. So that sums it up. All right, friends. I wish you everybody a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.